What causes 90% of all metabolic disease and disease in general? Stay tuned to find out. Welcome back, my friends. My name is Sarah. I am known as Carnivore Yogi. Thank you so much for being here and clicking on today's video. Today, we're going to talk about what causes most disease. Is it food? Is it lifestyle? What the heck actually is it? And I think there's actually a combination of many things involved, but there are some things that we're going to talk about in this video that are being completely overlooked, like our circadian rhythms. Now, why is the circadian rhythm important when we talk about 90% of all metabolic and just diseases in general? We're going to get into depth about that in this video. This is a short clip of a longer video that I did with Dr. Jacob Montgomery, but it is one of my favorite parts of the video because we really do dial in why people are getting sicker and sicker and sicker over the last 100 years, just in the last century, why we've been seeing all these new diseases. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I did put a few timestamps below, even though it is a very short video. And I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is going to be Raw Optics. These are my day lenses. I use these if I am on a screen, if I'm under artificial light, as Dr. Montgomery and I talk about in this video, how artificial light leads to a lot of metabolic diseases. And again, I do believe that nutrition is extremely important. You need to be eating nutrient-dense food. But I have worked with, at this point, hundreds and hundreds of people who are eating a very nutrient-dense diet, who are doing everything possible that they can with their diet, and they are still leptin resistant, they are still insulin resistant, they're still struggling to lose weight. And if you are 15 pounds or more overweight, you likely have leptin resistance. And leptin is a circadian hormone. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. I'm also going to link down in the show notes for you guys a link for my Circadian Kickstart. It is a 3-day Kickstart course that you can take today to start to set those circadian rhythms yourself. If you do believe that this is part of your problem, if you do believe that these incorrect circadian rhythms, this relationship you have with light, you're under a lot of artificial lights, and you want to change that, you can absolutely change that. And I've got everything you need in the Circadian Kickstart course. It's linked below, and there's an introductory price for the first 300 people that sign up. It's only going to be $25. After that 300 people sign up, the price will go up to $50 for the course. So if you're interested in it, please go ahead, check out that link below, and enjoy this video with Dr. Montgomery.
And so I went down that rabbit hole, and I really couldn't find. I was taking a bunch of supplements to try to boost mitochondrial health, and it wasn't really until I found Jack Kruse's work, who I think a lot of people know in this space, and I didn't believe a damn thing he said, to be honest with you, when I first read it, because I'm a traditional ophthalmologist. So I'm listening to this and I'm going, there's no way that this can be that critical. The light environment, sun exposure. But the more I challenged myself to learn this, I realized not only is it true, but I was actually a victim of this lifestyle. And, everything changed for me about 5 years ago when I started taking it seriously. And the circadian lifestyle has become just a daily thing. I don't even think about it anymore. And we can talk about some of the things that I do. And then the quantum side of it kind of fits right in. If you see my YouTube video, my goal in that was to tie light biology to circadian biology to mitochondrial function. And there's a complete and direct link. And once you realize what Doug Wallace has been teaching, that most, if not, I would say the majority, maybe 90% of all chronic diseases that we see in our clinics every day are caused by mitochondrial dysfunction. And that's increasing over time for reasons that he discusses called increasing mitochondrial heteroplasmy. So then the question is, okay, well, how do you fix that? How do you reverse it? And the answer is you can reverse it if you catch it soon enough. Now, obviously, if you wait until someone has cancer or Alzheimer's disease or those types of things, you're left with traditional medicine. But I would think the person who's interested in preventive care, with staying healthy, staying out of the doctor's office, you want to stay off my table. I treat a lot of diabetics, but by the time they get to me, they have kidney failure and retinopathy and they're going blind. You don't want to be that patient. And so the best thing to do is to start early take care of your mitochondria with the light environment and circadian biology and optimization. And that's, in my opinion, that's the best way in the modern environment to avoid those things.
Yeah. And you mentioned you took a lot of supplements when you first started suspecting this is maybe mitochondrial. Did you think that those helped at all? Did anything? No. Because I'll see people want a mega dose CoQ10 and L-carnitine and all these things. And I'm like,
I still will take those. I take that. I think they have some benefit, but once your mitochondria are also, once your voltage gets low, your redox, as we call it, we can explain what that means. Once your redox is already ruined, those supplements aren't going to do a damn thing. It's just, you're wasting your time. You got to actually recharge the batteries, so to speak. And the best way to do that is with sun exposure and a few other things, but that's where I would start.
Yeah, let's, I didn't put that on the list, but let's talk a little bit about redox, because that's something I feel like people need to understand. And I say all the time, redox before you detox. Right. You don't want to be messing with those types of things unless you really get your redox function up.
Right. Yeah. I think, before we talk about redox, I think if people need to understand what a mitochondria is. And so the mitochondria, you learn in, whatever, 8th grade biology, it's the powerhouse of the cell, but it's so much more than that. It's technically the battery powers of your cell. Your cell is actually controlled, in my opinion, by the mitochondria. And so redox basically is the net negative charge. So the more negative your cell is due to mitochondrial function, the more battery power each cell has. And once your battery power gets drained and your net negative charge is less negative or more positive, then you lose the ability to control free radical production, abnormal gene. You don't want to manifest certain genotypes. So you inherit things from into your parents, your genotype. Well, you don't necessarily manifest those genes 100% of the time unless the environmental stimulus that affects the mitochondria, which turns on and off certain gene patterns, gets that stimulus. So the mitochondria are critically important for controlling your disease process. So redox is technically just when your mitochondria pump electrons into the cytoplasm of the cell. That's really what they do. And so for years, decades even, we believe that the main source of energy for the cell was ATP. So if you remember from your biology that electron chain transport on the inner mitochondrial membrane, you're pumping protons into across the membrane, electrons out, and then over time there's a gradient, and at cytochrome 5 or 6, there's basically an ATPase, which basically spins. The ATP is a good energy producer, but it's the electrons in the cytoplasm that create the battery charge. That's the redox. And so the less your mitochondria function, the less electrons it pumps out, your negative charge goes down in the cell and you lose battery power. That's how you get sick.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you're basically losing charge.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, our cells are made of protons, neutrons, and electrons, and typically we're lacking those electrons. And so there's so many different ways that we can gather electrons into our bodies so that we can, like you said, improve redox. And that's really what I've been trying to educate people on. And food is electrons, right? But
yeah, all foods are reducing agents. So you're actually, you're right. Yeah.
Right. But as far as improving mitochondrial function, I think food is low on the list of what things that we really need to do in order to boost those electrons. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Well, as I guess as an ophthalmologist, how important is the eye in overall health? Because I think this is one of the most fascinating things I've learned since jumping into this world.
Yeah, we kind of have a joke in ophthalmology that you learn about the eye and you get to forget about everything else. But honestly, I mean, it's a joke, but really, to be honest with you, my view now of the eye is so much more profound than it was even as a board certified ophthalmologist. Because I view the eye as probably the most important neurohormonal, neuropsychiatric organ in the body. It literally controls metabolism. And people, when I say that, ophthalmologists look at me like I've got 3 heads. I mean, it's amazing. But when you understand how the circadian cycle works and the fact that your eye has a direct link from the retina to the hypothalamus, there's the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is the master circadian clock. It's basically what runs your circadian rhythm, sends messages to every cell in the body. Okay. So when you receive information from the environment, light information, your retinal hypothalamic tract transmits that information to the suprachiasmatic nucleus. That allows your cells to be on time with a circadian rhythm. And so you can completely derail that by staring at screens all day and never seeing the sun. Your physiology, and regardless of what people believe about evolutionary biology, our system was evolved over millions of years, hundreds of thousands as humans. We evolved in the sunlight. Okay. Yes. And so now we have replaced natural light with artificial light. And it's happened in a very, very short period of time, in a matter of a century. Well, now we are reprogramming our circadian rhythms to an alien sun, which doesn't vary diurnally. So if you look at the spectrum of the sun from sunrise to sunset, it's the only thing that's stable in that process is infrared light. All the other wavelengths change because of the incident light angle that with the Earth. So you have in the early morning, you have blue light and infrared, then you have UVA, then UVB and UVA. And then as the day wanes down, the blue increases and the UV decreases. Well, that diurnal spectrum is what your circadian clock was designed to see every single day. And so you can go a few days, if you get up before the sun rises, you get home from work after it sets, and you've looked at a screen all day, well, you are massively disrupting your circadian cycle. And so it's really pretty simple to reset your circadian rhythm. And so we can talk about some ways to do that. Incidentally, there's several articles that talk about taking a camping trip for 4 or 5 days being one of the best ways to reset your circadian, leave your device at home. But that's a beautiful way to do it. And then, from there, you can make changes in your daily life to make sure you stay. And we all have to have late dinners and, we all have those things socially, but there's ways to do it 90% of the time.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's, people get kind of like, oh, I can't go outside. I have a job. I have this, I have that. But I have at the end of this, like, how do you live a quantum lifestyle with 4 teenagers and being an eye surgeon? You've obviously figured out a way to do this because you've reversed your health. So it's very possible, right?
It has to be intentional. And someone, I think, people are, I see patients all day, every day. And one of the things that if a patient or a person doesn't believe something and they don't have conviction, they're very, very unlikely to change their behavior. And so what I find is patient education and oftentimes just using very, very simple examples kind of helps them. And I think it's exactly the same way with the light story. And obviously when you have a pretty dramatic change in health, most people want to listen. I mean, when you get sick and traditional medicine has no answers other than to prescribe more medications, and you have to take medicines to prevent side effects from the other medicines, it's a problem. And it's a cycle that can be broken, but you have to be intentional about it.